Well, I gotta intro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We have to stop. Okay.
Deep. Okay. All right. Welcome back. This is Thousand Proof, a marketing happy hour podcast. I am joined by Rubina. Rubina, if you'd like to share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Rubina. I'm a citizen of the Iowa tribe of Kansas, Nebraska. I live in central Wisconsin, so I'm in Stevens Point for work with Process, but I live in Nelsonville, which is a village of 100. It's a little bit about me.
Yeah, and today we're actually going to be talking about Process, which is a business here in downtown Stevens Point that Rubina owns. And we're going to be talking about social media and branding, but first, we are going to get some drinks because it's a happy hour.
We are doing a Sazerac today because we know it is both Rubina and I's lifestyle. It is a classic New Orleans cocktail, kind of like a old-fashioned. It's got Peychaud's bitters. It's got Angostura bitters, gum syrup, cognac, and rye whiskey.
Do you often drink a Sazerac?
I do not often drink a Sazerac.
Okay,
I'm excited.
that's a
This
good
is actually
answer.
my first time, I think, trying one.
Awesome. Yeah.
So,
well, thank
cheers.
you.
Not zero proof. Oh, sorry.
Welcome to the big leagues.
Thousand proof. Thousand proof right there. Yeah.
Oh, nothing subtle about my brand or this cocktail. So,
Yeah.
anyways.
And speaking of brands, I'm just going to do a little brief intro as to what brands are. You know, your brand identity, it encompasses what your brand is, who you serve, and not only, it's not just about the colors of your brand, your logo, it is the entire essence of your organization and your company and your mission. So talking about that, would you like to tell us a little bit about Process?
Yeah. I feel like you bring up the word mission, right? And that really, when it first started, there was this community call. They wanted a low waste, sustainable, eco-friendly refillery. And a refillery is a place where you can bring in you can bring in plastic containers or glass containers or anything that you want, and you can fill them up with goods. And so in that, it's to reduce waste. And so often in the industry, it would be called zero waste, a zero waste lifestyle brand or a zero waste store. And so the mission there was already had me questioning, like, is the mission really zero waste? Is it this elitist, beyond reach goal that we're never actually going to get to that's going to make us feel bad and spend a bunch of money on things that aren't solving the problem? So right there, just in that question from the beginning, we switched to a low waste brand and very explicitly decided to go with a low waste shop. And so that opened up the whole brand to, well, who is that? And quite frankly, you want that to be everybody.
Yeah.
And as we know in marketing and branding, you probably don't want to market to everybody.
No.
So with that though, that became like, well, the goal is to be low waste.
Yeah.
And so we were like, I was thinking about like, what's the process in that? Like, what's the steps? What's the journey? And then I had that aha moment where I was like, oh, it's a process.
Yeah.
And so that theme, that idea has resonated through how we buy products, how we build customer relationships, and how we build a brand, the process.
Yeah, it's incredible. So when you first started out and, you had that aha moment and you figured out it's a process, and process is quite literally the process of transitioning from, high waste, moderate waste to more low waste options. How did you kind of start out with trying to get the word out about Process? It came to downtown and, it's in a great location, but how did you get people to come into the door?
Yeah, well, the first door was my front door, a side door, I guess, on the front porch. And that was really like the root of it was in Nelsonville during COVID. And I had to find creative ways to make it so people could still get these low waste products, these bulk products, autonomously. And which is weird because our whole brand now is about having a local corner store where people can come in to buy or not buy, just to gossip, hang out, shoot the shit, right? And so going from that more autonomous buyer, experience, buying experience, took a lot of word of mouth and trust with just local folks.
Yeah.
And then from there, we moved to the next town, and that started to get the word out. And I noticed folks coming from Stevens Point and Wapaka. So for folks, that's like 20 minutes either direction that people have to drive to us. And that really took a lot of trust, where you're like, you got to show the whole store. Nobody wants to be the first to open a door. Nobody wants to not know what they're walking into. There's a lot of anxiety with shopping, and I think that's why we've moved to online shopping, because you don't have to interact with people. Yeah. And so that's when we started showing, like, this is what it's going to be like when you get here. And the process, like the heart we were putting into it. I had a 1-year-old at the time, and so here we are in our masks and babies, and Wild definitely ate paint, and that hit the stories, Yeah. And so they see how much you're buying into your own brand and your own work, and people then want to invest in something that you believe in. Yeah. They also want it to be positive. People tend, I think, not to want to invest in, like, yes, there's an underdog, but there's also like, oh my gosh, that person looks like they're having a great time. I want to have a great time too.
Yeah.
And so then when we moved to downtown, that marketing really had a big shift, because it shifted to collaborative marketing. So I don't know if you know about that, but we split space with Bound to Happen Bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually remember when Process first opened, there was a lot of buildup leading to it, and I was really excited when it opened too. I showed up, I think, in the first week as well, and I filled up. I got some dish soap, and I filled up, and I used the refillery, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
That's awesome.
And so it was actually really interesting, because a lot of times, smaller businesses have a hard time building up that want to go in, that excitement for something to open. How do you think, like, the branding and the way you approached it with the collaborative marketing really helped kickstart that for you?
Yeah, I think the collaborative marketing was a strategy in essence to say, like, you've got your pool of people and I've got ours, but I also anchored on the location, which had been Agura. And so Agura had been there, and when I had gone downtown and looked at all of the different buildings, like there's one turquoise on Main, and I was like, I want that spot, and then she got it, and I knew the rent on it. I went to this other spot. I was like, I looked at where 1000 Lumen was. It had been another place, and I knew that they were going to be leaving at some point, and I was like, maybe that's going to be my spot, but I knew it was on an offside street, and it could only be served as an office doing marketing. When I could say, oh, we're where Agura used to be. That was a marketing pitch. Like, that was a quip that I knew people could say, oh, we're across from the library where Agura used to be. And I hate to admit that I wanted to ride on that coattail of marketing that somebody had also done, but that's the essence of being in a downtown place. Marketing is collaborative. It's with everybody. It's building off of each other. And so that sort of inherent conversation through marketing, I think, is really what landed us a safe spot when we got down here. Then the challenges, though, is like, there's, one brand, which is like this one person, which had 3 owners. And then there was Process, which had 3 owners. And so to think about all that personality that comes out through a brand, and those, we had a politician who one time wanted to visit, and it's like, well, whose marketing does that hit? Whose politics are these? There's, our queer identity that we started. We had to be like, okay, who here identifies as queer? Is this part of our joint marketing? Or is this mine, or is this yours? But we were all a little gay, so it worked out.
So would you say that, a lot of your marketing, you said that a lot of personalities came out with it. Would you say it was a reflection of the lifestyle that you lived, and it was directly within your personal mission in life?
Yeah, I like to make a joke here that I don't have to be low waist because I have all my customers doing it for me. But no, it was the store started because I couldn't find what I needed, and I was having horrible consumer guilt. Yeah. And I couldn't see myself shopping online for the rest of my life to get those goods. And so, yeah, it was like the store started as I became more low waist. It's not like I was like, I am low waste and now I must give this to the people. It was like, I wonder how I'm going to do this. And I just kept moving through that. And through that research and self-development, I could then have that conversation in real time with people as they were also doing it.
Yeah.
Process is a response to the community wholeheartedly. And so you'll see a lot of people in the pictures, you know, you'll see a lot of like folks in that space because I want them to see themselves in the space and in the process. And that no matter where you are through that, you're able to come along with the journey.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about people and you talked about, your personal mission. You weren't able to find what you wanted. And I think that kind of sort of accidentally turned process into a lifestyle brand. Like a lot of people, it's aspirational to them. May be struggling with consumer guilt themselves. And they're like, man, I go and I buy all these products that are in plastic bottles and I just throw them away when I'm done with them when, a refillery wasn't available or they weren't even educated on the options that are available. Right. So when it comes to, a lifestyle brand, what does that maybe mean to you?
Well, it's, I think something that keeps coming up. This is, it seems so cheesy, but people over products. You won't see products mostly in our marketing, and we have over 5,000 of them. And so if we're doing a photo shoot, usually the product is like it's one of those like magic eye things where you got to like figure out which one is the product. Yeah. I mean, that's the hope, right? Yeah. Is that that folks are buying into that goal and that better version of themselves. And so we're not going to show that and make it unattainable. We're going to show us doing that. So I can't even remember what you asked, but I think that was like a good sum up.
You're good. No. Yeah, I think also with the people, when it comes to a lifestyle brand or maybe even aspirational lifestyle, when it comes to, the services, the mission that process has, also not only just having people, but people who you're targeting, even like queer, people of color, people who might not have access to these things otherwise. And in-person shopping, especially, because like you said, online shopping was really the only option you had prior. So people might not have even known that there was an in-person, a brick and mortar option for them to go through because online shopping in and of itself has its own waste, So the in-person and offering that, I think, is a great way, especially with the people and the lifestyle and the products that you do offer. When it comes to, the lifestyle and the aspiration to kind of convert to low waste, how do you pick the products to showcase when it comes to your marketing?
Oh, that's a 30-hour conversation. But I do think that like more so in the essence of like the lifestyle part, like I think an earlier question that I really want to like bring to is we didn't even get to the last location where we're at. And our marketing, I think that you'll see that it has changed just like the products. So like kind of bridging that gap of like how are the products picked and how's that? It's usually by customer suggestion, review and everything. But also our marketing changed when we hit our new store. It was literally just me with a camera photographing customers on a Saturday, on a busy day, interacting with the store. And I would be like, did I get a kid? Did I get an old dude? Did I get a queer? Did I get a this? Did I get a that? And that was just like, I was like, I don't need them to, again, be with product. I just needed to show the people who we want for, to engage with us that I believe in, which is everybody. Yeah. And it is liberal, conservative, straight, gay. I mean, it's all, it's everything. And so as we get new people in every single day, am I showing all of those, that diversity of faces, engaging with the diversity of our products? Yeah. So that becomes the lifestyle.
And do you have anything, we're kind of, wrapping up the episode here. Do you have anything or any words you want to leave with the audience who might be, considering starting a business or they just started out and, they're looking for some tips or something just to get started?
Yeah, people love the fuck ups, beep. It's I think for me, like it's there's so many gaps in marketing that I do, and then I realize that my sales aren't actually fluctuating because I think people also take those gaps in marketing or in consuming that marketing. And so that you get this like, oh gosh, I got to get this post out, and now you're like waiting and you're watching. But like at some point you have to realize like it's just from a sustainability standpoint, how is it sustainable and how do you weave it through your life? And you can't be pretending to be anything else than what you are.
I think that's wonderful.
Thanks.
I think we cheers to that.
I was just going to say, I need a drink after that.
Well, thank you, Rubina. Where can people find Process?
We are downtown Stevens Point, but we also have a fully extensive online store at lowwaste.shop. So make sure you check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll put
and Instagram and Facebook and all of those
yes,
things.
and we will take those in the description of this episode. So thank you so much
Thanks
for coming
for
in.
having me. Awesome.